Any members? We shall go straight on to Steve, who I know has prepared a report.
Yeah, okay. If you can hear me, thank you very much, Luke, and thanks everyone for coming to this. There was a couple of reports in the press this week that I thought showed the state of affairs, the dreadful state of affairs that the government of this country is in at the minute. So on the day that The Guardian had the headline, "Unit tasked with reforming Home Office after Windrush scandal being disbanded," the Treasury announced that a new commemorative 50p coin marking the 75th anniversary of the arrival of the Empire Windrush in the UK had been released by the Royal Mint. It's if they're saying, "We made you unemployed and homeless. We denied you healthcare. We deported you. Some of you died, but it will all be okay because we put your image on a coin." I'm reminded of the expression that irony is dead. The other thing that struck me as a kind of things counterposed in the press was, on the one hand, we saw the tragic deaths of several hundred refugees in the Mediterranean, while the Greek Coast Guard basically, if the reports are to be believed, did nothing to assist until the last minute. Meanwhile, the Italian extreme right-wing government is prosecuting a German sea captain, Pia Kemp, who has rescued over 1,000 people faced with drowning in the Mediterranean, and that she's threatened with 20 years in prison for charged with migrant trafficking, when she's basically arguing that she was obeying the law of the sea that says everyone at sea must go to the aid of a sea in distress. Meanwhile, some billionaires on an undersea jolly got into trouble, and the press was fixated by this, and the submarine, millions were spent on their rescue. And I think, we really see them kind of naked class issue as well as the sort of racism involved. However, what I want to really talk about is some what I consider positive responses that have come from within the trade unions. So the Fire Brigade Union issued a statement which they managed to get 15 general secretaries of trade unions, Sharon Graham of Unite, Gary Smith of the GMB, Mick Lynch of the RMT, Joe Grady of my own union, UCU, and so on, Mick Whelan of ASLEF. And I'm going to read it out because I think it actually is quite a good statement. In recent years, we have seen an alarming rise in violence and intimidation organised by the far right against refugees and refugee accommodation. The government is complicit in these attacks. The Rwanda does not make sense, but it fits in with a long-running campaign of rhetoric and demonisation. Anti-immigrant politics are an attempt to divide working-class people against each other. In the past decade, the United Kingdom has suffered a crisis of living standards, with wages falling and public services left to rot. The people to blame for this are politicians, billionaires, and big corporations, not migrant workers or refugees forced to live in temporary accommodation. The anti-refugee campaign offers no solutions to the real problems faced by the deprived communities they are often targeting. The answer is solidarity, not scapegoating. As trade unionists, we know whose side we are on when we see far-right mobs attacking refugees and politicians playing the mood music. We send our solidarity to Care for Calais and all groups fighting for refugee rights, and we support the call for safe and legal routes into the UK. We call on workers. We call on workers and trade union members to show their solidarity and to mobilise against the far right. Now, resolutions are a fine thing, but by themselves, they need to be implemented if they're to mean anything. But what it does do is it gives us an opportunity to speak about these issues and similar issues of racism to ordinary workers in this country. As part of such an initiative, under the with the help, I can't remember the right word, with the help of Tony Conway of the Communist Party, a meeting of the Bangladeshi Workers' Council, Caribbean Labour Solidarity, and the Indian Workers Association issued a call for anti-racist immigration and nationality laws. It starts. The labour movement must unite our communities and our working class in the months and years ahead. And what we're saying is that trade unions are central to the campaign against racism and discrimination. We stand for equality and not discrimination. And we mean real social and economic equality, not the spurious equality of opportunity that would have us all fighting amongst ourselves for the crumbs from the table. It says we oppose the hostile environment and for the repeal of racist legislation. Theresa May's hostile environment has had disastrous consequences for many immigrant workers, turned landlords and employers into border guards, and placed medical workers in an impossible situation. We stand for safe and legal routes and are against the outsourcing of Britain's asylum system to Rwanda or elsewhere. Outsourcing of immigration control at all levels must lead to injustices, as private companies will want to persecute as many people as possible to fulfill their quotas. And sending people to Rwanda is universally reckoned to be barbaric. Even I heard the other day by the High Court. We call for reduction in immigration fees. We oppose people being housed in detention centres and for people residing in communities with proper support. As well as being inhumane, locking immigrant workers away from the rest of the community breeds fear and misunderstanding. And it's the intention of the government, really. This is divide and rule. It says we stand for the treatment of people as human beings. Well, that's really says it all at the bottom of it, doesn't it? We oppose income thresholds as a means to determine immigration and for fair and equal treatment. One law for the rich and another for the poor. Income thresholds to facilitate the arrival of businessmen while excluding workers. We support the right to work and say asylum seekers and refugees should have infinite leave to remain, access to public funds, faster tracking to nationality. Skilled workers, doctors and nurses and engineers are kept in enforced idleness when they could be contributing usefully to society. We oppose the revoking of British citizenship and the deportation or removal of those who had British citizenship or risk and for a proper appeal system. The right to revoke citizenship for some but not others is two-tier citizenship and unacceptably discriminatory. Children without citizenship should automatically be given it on reaching adulthood. There are still hundreds of children in the care system who do not have established citizenship and who risk deportation at the age of 18. We call for parliamentary scrutiny for any changes to immigration and nationality laws and for police and Home Office to be stripped of discretionary powers. The Windrush scheme is not fit for purpose and must be revamped and made accessible. The police, the Home Office and the Border Force are institutionally racist. That doesn't mean that individuals who staff these agencies are all racists, far from it, but it means that the structures of these institutions predispose them to racist responses. We call upon the labour movement organisations to back these demands, but we recognise that there's more needs adding. But this started as what I see as a short and sensible response to what is an attack on us all. We welcome support for these demands from all levels of the movement, locally and nationally, would welcome working with other immigrant workers organisations, trade union, black workers sections, trades councils, union branches and district committee. We do not seek to replace organisations and campaigns that already exist. Indeed, we call upon trade unions to support these campaigns. This is not an attempt to set up yet another organisation, but rather propose a campaign that all anti-racism trade unionists can unite behind. The government is using the plight of refugees and asylum seekers as dog whistle politics to encourage its white supremacist supporters. They've got to be stopped, and it's up to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.